Hampshire is the only state in the nation that flipped their legislature from blue to red. We flipped our House from Democrat to Republican. Our Senate went from 1410 Democrat to 1410 Republican. Our Executive Council, which confirms all judges and contracts and such, went from 3-2 Democrat to 4-1 Republican.
Wow.
And then Governor Sununu, who admittedly is a bit of a rhino, won 2-1 over his Democrat challenger.
Oh my gosh.
So the entire in-state delegation is solid red Republican. Yet we failed to elect a single Democrat to Washington. 2 House seats, a Senate seat, and the president. That right away caught people's attention and said, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Yeah. You said that you failed like that. You said you failed to elect a single Democrat. You meant Republican, correct?
Sorry, single Republican to Washington. But people just don't vote like that. They don't say, we want solid Republican government here in the state, but the Democrats are doing such a wonderful job in Washington, let's send them all back.
Yeah.
That's purely schizophrenic.
Right.
So right away, that caught our attention.
Could I add something, David? Could I add something quick? You know, just watching here from the Midwest on election day, and then following the weeks after, and seeing New Hampshire, the red flag was raised. I was like, how does this happen? You know, when you see, you can almost pick out the states where there was shenanigans going on, because they're so much different than the rest of the country. And New Hampshire to go so strongly for Joe Biden, there's just no way. I just didn't believe it at all.
Well, here's the other thing. If you look back all the way to 2012 in New Hampshire, the Democrat candidate has slowly been falling for votes for the presidency, whereas the Republican candidate has been steadily growing. And both of those lines on a graph follow the exact same trajectory. And they almost intersected 4 years ago, because Clinton only beat Trump, allegedly, by about 2,000 votes.
Right.
So if that trajectory continued, this was going to be an easy win for Trump.
Right.
If you look at the number of votes that they credit him with, he was on that exact same slope, the exact same trajectory. But suddenly, Biden, boing, bounced wildly. It made absolutely no sense.
Right.
In fact, he outpolled Clinton from 2 years ago. He outpolled Obama from 2008, which was his inaugural year, where there was lots of Democrat excitement. It made no sense that a guy who came in last in our primary, campaigned with a woman who dropped out even before our primary, campaigned from his basement, said, I'm going to raise your taxes in a low-tax state and come and take your guns in a very strong Second Amendment state. He beat Trump?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
I agree.
So then on top of it, you look at our Senate race where Jeanne Shaheen was up for re-election.
Yeah.
Not only did she get 200,000 more votes than she got 6 years ago. Think about that. 200,000. She got more votes for any candidate for a federal office in the history of this state. That doesn't happen. In fact, the first thing that happened nationwide that piqued people's interest was Mark Kelly in Arizona got 102% of the Biden vote. That just doesn't happen. Usually the president, being the marquee race on the election, gets the most votes, and then as you go down ballot, there's a drop-off.
Right.
Kelly got 102% of the Biden vote. Mm-hmm. Shaheen got 106% of the Biden vote. That just doesn't happen.
Wow.
Not here in a little tiny state like this.
Yeah.
So, said another way, she got 80% more votes than she got 6 years ago.
80%?
80%. She got 200,000 votes. 250,000 votes in 2014, and she got 450,000 this year.
No way.
There's no friggin' way that happened. You could say, 2014 was a midterm election. No. It was a very hotly contested race with Scott Brown.
Right.
There was a big Democrat turnout. There's no way you get 200,000 more votes. She's got more votes than any candidate for federal office in the history of our state.
Wow.
And then on top of that, there's a guy named Chris Pappas, who got elected 2 years ago, nobody knows who the hell he is. He votes 99% of the time with Nancy Pelosi. He doesn't have any presence up here. And Matt Mauer's beating him by 10, 12%. I mean, at 10 o'clock, the New York Times, of all places, said he's got this wrapped up.
Wow.
Wake up in the morning, and he's lost by 5% to Chris Pappas.
Wow.
So all of these things said, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. So then Wyndham comes up. Now, I don't know if you know about New Hampshire. We have the third largest democratically elected legislature in the world. Okay? We have 400 House members, 24 Senate members. The only two entities that are bigger are the British House of Commons and the U.S. Congress.
Okay.
So in Wyndham, there were 4 House races that were up for grabs. Republicans won all 4 of them. The Democrat, Christy Lambert, came within 24 votes. She asked for a recount. And on the recount, that's where all 4 Republicans, on average, gained 300 votes. Now, you wouldn't think that that's a lot, but compared to their original totals, Jim, that was over 6% of a gain. The Democrat who challenged Lambert lost 100 votes. That was 2% of her original total. So the gap suddenly spread by 8%.
Oh my gosh.
And people said, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? So,
and was that just one precinct, or was that throughout?
That's the town.
That was in the whole town, okay.
Town Wyndham.
Uh-huh.
So here's the thing. They use an AccuVote 2000 machine.
Right.
Which is owned by, guess who?
Dominion,
Wyndham.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
The software in that is manufactured by Global Election Management Systems, which is owned by, guess who? Wyndham. So the town attorney, Bernard Campbell, wrote to the Attorney General's office and said, this needs to be investigated. They ignored him. The Ballot Law Commission wrote, after they investigated and after looking at this hand recount, said, we want an investigation. The AG's office ignored them. Even our idiot Secretary of State, Bill Gardner, they tout him as, he's the longest-serving Secretary of State anywhere in the country. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's a fucking idiot, and he's senile, and he ought to be out of there because he's into his 43rd year.
Oh, my God. Okay?
He came out and said, we've never seen a disparity like this before. And he did nothing. I actually got on a 2.5-hour conference call with him, orchestrated by one of our senators, Bob Guida, and along with the chairman of the Senate Election Law Committee, Jim Gray, who is my senator. Mm-hmm. And their response was, well, it didn't change the outcome of the election. Really? I said, that's the end of your curiosity? Do you know how many races are settled by 6% or less? Most of them. So what you're telling me is that you don't think we need to look into this, but if someone who lost a race by 3% came to you and said, how do I know I didn't win by 3%? You would be okay with saying, I don't know that? That would be acceptable to you?
Yeah.
So I point blanked Gardner and said, do we use Wyndham products in this state? And he said, no, we don't. He doesn't even know who makes the machines. Even Jim Gray, Senator Gray, the chairman of the Senate Election Law Committee, said, no, we don't. All you have to do is Google AccuVote 2000, and the first hit comes up, Premier /Diebold parentheses Dominion. It tells you right away, and it gives you the history. This thing started being produced in 2000 by Unisys. Unisys sold it to Diebold. Diebold sold it to Premier, and in 2010, there was a suit that allowed, I think it was an antitrust or something, that allowed Dominion to pick it up. Wow. So Dominion owns it. It's distributed by a company out of Salem called LHS. LHS distributes this machine to the entire Northeast. New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts use it. Only Maine and Rhode Island do not. Connecticut does as well. Mm-hmm. I asked our town clerk, did we use Dominion? And she called LHS. They wouldn't tell her. I called LHS. I actually got the president of the company to answer the phone.
Oh my God!
And he said, "Oh, well, let me transfer you to somebody who can help you." He put me on endless elevator music for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I called back and left him a voicemail. He never called me back. So we definitely do use it up here.
Right.
So here's what I think happened. In Wyndham, I think we caught them cheating down ballot. I think the majority of the cheating took place at the federal races, which is why we failed to elect a single Republican to D.C.
Mm-hmm.
I think we caught them cheating down ballot.
Wow.
And we want them to look at this, because you know what else they did? So they take the ballots from Wyndham whenever they do a recount. And by the way, nobody does a machine recount, at least not in New Hampshire. They only do hand recounts because it's universally believed that hand recounts are more accurate.
Right.
So they bring them up to the state archives, and under great scrutiny, they go through ballot by ballot by ballot. Everyone looks, do we agree that this is a ballot for this candidate? Yep. And that's how they came up with the 300-plus vote gain for everybody. Do you know that when they did that, they never documented how many ballots they received from the town? Wouldn't you, if you were doing a recount, wouldn't you say, hey, we got 10 boxes of ballots from Wyndham containing 10,006 ballots, which is what they claimed they had? They never did that. So people automatically just start saying, oh, well, they must have missed 300 ballots. They didn't feed them through the machine. You know, there was a maskless voting booth over in the corner, so that people, if they came in and didn't have masks, they had to go over there.
Oh, yeah, that's
they
what I
must
heard.
have missed those. And right away, the town moderator came out and said, no, that's crap. We bring those over every stinking hour. We announce what we're doing. We feed them through the machines. So here's the other thing. They use 4 of these voting machines. And by the way, this machine is the only machine used in New Hampshire. 85% of the towns in New Hampshire machine count using this machine. Wow. That's why this is such a big problem. And that's why they don't want to look into this. So they have 4 of these in Wyndham. And I noticed they actually gave the breakout for every single race on every single machine for all 4 machines. So down ballot, town clerk, things like that, sheriff, Republicans were winning everything, because Wyndham is a very conservative town. They vote Republican about 60% of the time. So down ballot, Republicans were winning on every single race, on every single machine, until you went up ballot to the federal races. And suddenly machine 2 flipped. Suddenly the Democrats were winning everything. Wow. So I called that into question, and I was told by Senator Gray, well, that's because they fed all the absentee ballots through machine 2. And I thought, wonder if there's a way to figure out how many absentee ballots went through that machine. So apparently, you as a public voter could walk to any one of those machines. If you wanted to go to 4, you could go to 4, you could go to 3,
sure.
You could go to 2. So with 10,000 voters, you're going to get a pretty random sampling to all 4 of those machines. So I looked at what was the average number of votes that went through 1, 3, and 4, subtracted that from 2, boom, there's your absentee ballot. Now what percentage of the absentee ballot Jean Shaheen would have had to win in order to get the vote total she got out of Wyndham? 87% plus.
Wow.
There's no stinking way that a predominantly Republican town votes 87% plus to vote for a Democrat. So none of this is making any sense. Right. So we took it to the Attorney General's office.
No, he's a Democrat, right? The Attorney General?
No, I'm pretty sure he's a Republican.
Oh, okay.
But even going back decades, Jim, Kelly Ayotte was our Attorney General years ago.
Okay.
Joe Foster succeeded her. Gordon MacDonald succeeded her. And despite numerous cases, they've refused to do anything. Even one of our reps here in Belknap County, Norm Silver, had a guy who was caught stealing campaign signs from his property. The local police caught him. He confessed. So Silver brought this to the Attorney General's office because there is a state law on election interference. They refused to do anything. It's like, this is an open shut case.
Right.
The guy confessed, I'm a representative here in the House. You need to do something. No, we're not going to do anything. So now the Attorney General, side issue, just was nominated and confirmed to be the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court. So we have a guy who doesn't want to pay any attention to election law interference. So anyhow, we presented all this evidence to them. There is an RSA, which is our word for state law, stands for Revised Statutes Annotated, that allows the Attorney General to look into this. I mean, it's plain as day. It's 7:6-C if you want to look it up under New Hampshire RSAs. And they won't do anything. They're not interested.
Wow.
So here's the issue. We've got a disparity here, the likes of which has never been seen before, that no one can explain, and they're not going to look into this.
Amazing.
We as private citizens can't. I mean, I could, even if I assembled every citizen in the town of Wyndham and we surrounded the town hall, we don't have the legal right to go in and examine these ballots. We don't have the right to, examine these voting machines. Yet this machine is used in 85% of the towns in New Hampshire, that machine count. And obviously the question is, if something did go wrong with this, well then, did it go wrong with other elections on that ballot?
Sure.
You're damn right they did. And once you confirm that, well, did it go wrong in other towns in New Hampshire that used this machine? Oh, you're damn right it did. And they don't want to be forced to look into that. They're hoping we're going to go away.
Sure.
And we're not going to go away.
Fantastic.
So along the way,
who needs to be pressured?
Moderator.
Who needs to get the pressure? Is it the Attorney General of the state that people need to pressure? Or
Yeah, it's the Attorney General's office. Ann Edwards is now the acting Attorney General since McDonald was promoted to the Supreme Court. Again, just another debacle. But yeah, we need to pressure the Attorney General's office. Let's see. Oh, here's the other thing. Last year, a law was passed that instructed the Secretary of State to conduct a study of high-speed scanning optical scanners so that we could selectively audit the outcome of certain races to make sure that our electronic voting machines were working properly. Why would you propose a bill and have it passed unless you had concerns about the accuracy of our voting machines? That was signed into law last summer. And it gave the Secretary of State until November 1 to purchase scanners and do a study and report to the House, the Senate, and the Ballot Law Commission. And the deadline for conducting that was November 1st. November 1st came and went, and he hadn't done a goddamn thing.
Wow.
He actually broke the law and did a scan on November 30th, 29 days later, of some meaningless race in Manchester from years ago. Amazing. And so we said, look, if you broke the law once, you can break it again to look at these ballots. Nope, they won't do it.
Wow.
So we have the Secretary of State who is ignoring the law, and then when it's, his office staff told him, Bill, you're going to get an F on this report because you didn't do anything, he breaks the law and goes and scans these ballots when he has no legal authority to do that. That's the kind of crap we're dealing with up here.
Wow. Well, it's an amazing story. It needs some more attention.
That's why I wanted to call you.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, I testified at McDonald's Supreme Court hearing, and I said, when you have elected and appointed state officials who refuse to look into voting irregularities like this, then we are a lamb for the slaughter. We as citizens can't do this, and our officials won't do this. That is shameless. I said there's nothing that's more sacred than the right to vote.
Right.
And if you corrupt that, or if there's evidence that it may have been corrupted and you do nothing, you have failed us.
Wow. That's amazing. I appreciate this information. David, I taped this. Is it okay if I put up what your words here? If I just put up the like a video stream of your what you just told me?
You bet.
Okay.
You bet. I am happy to. I'm an emergency physician. I've been in practice 32 years.
Wow.
I'm a member of the Republican State Committee. I'm the treasurer of my local county Republican committee, and I'm not going to go away on this.
Fantastic.
This has to be looked at.
Absolutely.
If we don't clean up stuff like this, if we don't prove to the citizens of New Hampshire that the vote you make actually is counted accurately, then none of this matters.
You're right.
It doesn't make any difference how good a candidate you are, how much money you spend,
we saw that with Trump. Trump.
Speaker? Yeah.
The greatest victory we've seen, and they stole it from him.
Yep. You bet.
Amazing. Well, that makes a lot of sense, because I always wondered what the hell happened in New Hampshire, and of course, you just explained it all. So, thank you, David. I'm gonna work on this and try to have something up soon. Okay.
One last thing I did, and this is where statistical analysis really comes into play. I looked at the 3 counties, when it came to Shaheen, who got 80% more votes than she got 6 years ago. I looked at the counties that had the greatest increase in votes for her. Number 1 was Rockingham County. I went in and looked at all of the towns in Rockingham to see which had the greatest increase in votes for her. And then I further looked at the towns with the greatest increase who flipped from Republican in 2014 to Democrat in 2020. Guess which town flipped and had the greatest increase in votes for Jeanne Shaheen? Wyndham!
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
It's all starting to make sense, because look, if you know that you're going to get wiped out by a huge Republican turnout, where are you going to go to get votes? You're going to go to the Republican strongholds and you're going to flip them.
Right.
You could have 100% turnout in primary Democrat precincts like Manchester and Portsmouth and Keene, but it ain't going to be enough. So you got to flip votes. So you go to the Republican strongholds and you flip, 5% there, 10% there, hoping nobody will notice.
Yeah.
And I think here they got greedy and we caught them cheating down ballot.
Yeah, with 6% per race.
6% per race, and the Democrat who challenged lost 2%. Explain that. When all 4 candidates who gain are all in the same party, i.e. on the same side of the ticket, that's not random. That's not chance.
Right. Amazing.
That's intentional.
Wow.
And all these people want to be very magnanimous. Well, we don't know it's fraud. You know what? Until proven otherwise, it's fraud. When you have all 4 candidates who gain and they're all in the same party, it doesn't matter that it didn't change the outcome of the election. It doesn't matter that we haven't looked at the ballots or the machines. That's fraud until proven otherwise.
Amen.
Up to you to show us, reassure us that it was an accident.
Fantastic. Yep. All right. I'm going to let you go. I have a lot here. And please stay in touch, David, okay?
Absolutely. If you have any follow-up questions, you have my number.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay. Take care.
Bye now.